Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, your podcast to help you and your family cruise a little smarter. And I'd like to welcome to the show one of our good friends all the way down in California. We were lucky enough to sail with him and his family over in Greece here in June. Welcome back to the show, Chris from California. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me back again.
It's our pleasure to have you back. And I should say Chris in the concierge, shouldn't I?
Yes.
Since most people know you as that on Twitter and other forms of social media and stuff like that. So, well, thanks for coming back. It was a lot of fun. We were able to sail with you guys in New Orleans and then also with your family, or the whole family this time, over in Greece this time.
Yeah, it was great, getting on the ship and knowing some people there already.
Yeah, I think that, I think we've said this a couple times before, but we love cruising, but I think that knowing people on the ship and being able to spend some time, whether it's just, having drinks with happy hour before dinner or going to bingo together or whatever else, I think that really enhances your cruise, knowing people that are on the ship and being able to spend that time together.
Oh, 100%. It was fun. Like, hey, what are you guys doing today? You want to meet up and do this kind of thing? And
so you guys had a little bit different experience than us as far as this cruise goes. Now, I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, you had this cruise booked 2 years ago?
Correct.
Okay. And
this was the third time I was trying to do this cruise.
So it was the third time for your charm, because we bailed and tried to book Alaska in 2021, and then that went south too. So, but this time it actually went through for you guys. So third time trying to do it. But you added on kind of some experiences beforehand, and so I thought we'd talk about that. But before we jump into kind of your overall experiences, what's your overall thoughts for people cruising in Europe? Is this a type of cruise that you and your family enjoy? And what's the difference between it and possibly the Caribbean?
I mean, we really enjoy it, but as you know, it's a very extensive cruise, and you're gone most of the day. You're busy going. You come back and you're tired in the evening. You're not going to shows late, that kind of, at least for us. I mean, we were just tired every day, just so much stuff to do in all those ports, because you're never going to, you think, are we ever going to get back here? We got to try to do everything we can. We're in the Caribbean. It's like, well, we can get off in Nassau. We'll be back here twice next year kind of deal, right? So it's like, we want to try to do as much as we could every day.
And what was it about Greece that kind of intrigued you? They had Disney Cruise Line had sailed there years ago. I can't remember exactly when they did, but it had been well over 10 years since they sailed to Greece. What was it about Greece that kind of intrigued you?
Well, we had done the Mediterranean in 2019 and did, several stops in France and Italy. So just trying to find a different area. And when they announced it, my daughter, who was graduating high school in 2020, was like, I want to go to Greece for graduation. This looks like so much fun. And so that's kind of what started it for us.
And I think we'll talk about it a little bit when we get into it. But I was kind of surprised at how small the ports actually were when we went to the islands. I mean, I guess I should have known that. But after doing the Mediterranean, where everything's so industrial, and you go from that industrial port, maybe an hour bus ride to go and see something, I was surprised at how small the ports were.
Yeah, a couple of the ports were really small. Santorini, we had the tender in. But I think Kefalonia, I'm trying to think, was a really small port, if I remember right. I remember there was a yacht park there, and that was like the only thing within our vicinity, right? It was not a bustling industrial port like Naples is. Right.
Yeah, there was that one yacht, and there was like a second one when we came back, and I know Andrew's like, we should book that next time. And I was like, yeah. I was like, maybe you should become a YouTube star or something like that, make a bunch of money, and then we can book that. So we'll see about that. Okay, so in this one, before you guys got on the cruise, you guys did something a little bit different. You guys had, and I know you've done this before in the past, or you've booked Adventures by Disney to kind of kick off the experience in Barcelona. This time you booked it through Rome. So could you kind of talk about how you guys got to Rome from the West Coast, since you guys are West Coast like us, and then talk us through what you got to experience with Adventures by Disney.
On the West Coast, there's not direct flights to Rome, as you know. We ended up flying San Francisco to Paris, spent 2 nights at Disneyland Paris to kind of get acclimated to the time zone, get back on our normal schedule. And then from Paris, we flew to Rome, which is a quick 2-hour flight. And so we landed on Rome on Wednesday before our cruise. Our cruise was Saturday, and then we had 3 nights with Adventures by Disney.
And I didn't really think about this, because I think I saw you talk about this like on Twitter or something. Not only do they kind of help, get you acquainted through Rome, but at the end of the tour, they also actually get you to the ship as well, which I thought that was pretty cool.
Correct. And it's nice because they also pick you up at the airport. So as soon as we got out of the baggage claim, there was a representative there that had a car waiting for us. They take you straight to the hotel, get you checked in, and And then after your tour is over that morning, they take you straight to the port, and you actually get to bypass the line, and everybody on the Adventures by Disney got to go to the front of the line, basically, for testing.
Which was pretty nice because that helped you get through through that mess a little bit faster, didn't it?
Yes.
Well, let's talking about what you got to experience with Adventures by Disney. And I totally forgot about that you went to Disneyland Paris before you went there. Anything stand out about Disneyland Paris this time? I know we talked about it last time you were on the show, or one of the last times you were on the show.
No, unfortunately, Marvel wasn't open yet, so it was pretty much everything we saw before. Pirates of the Caribbean was open this time; it wasn't before. Otherwise, it was the same. We had a good time. Just did one day quick. We did a VIP tour, did everything multiple times, and then we moved on to Rome.
And you guys get to stay in the Spider-Man room. What did you think of that?
So that was pretty cool, actually. So that in the Disneyland Hotel was closed for refurbishment, so we stayed in the Art of Marvel Hotel, and we had a Spider-Man suite. But the connecting room is just a generic room. It was kind of, kids got kind of, their room had nothing in it. So we had, our side was all Spider-Man. There was a big Spider-Man on the top of the bed that lit up at night and stuff, like the cityscape with him swinging through the city. So it was kind of fun, though, walk in and see all that stuff in the room.
So how would you equate the hotels over at Disneyland Paris? So is that kind of the same level as like the Grand Floridian and the Polynesian and whatnot? Is it the same kind of level there, or?
I would say the Disneyland Hotel is like those hotels, and the Marvel one's kind of like the Disneyland Hotel or the Contemporary, I would say.
Okay.
And then it goes down from there. They have a couple other ones.
Did a little bit cheaper. Well, let's turn to the Adventures by Disney. So it was basically 2 days of spending time with a group, seeing Rome. Your kids are a little bit older, high school and college. Were there any younger kids, or is this a type of tour that you think was really made for older kids?
I think it's kind of made for older kids. I wouldn't try to do anything younger than 10, but there was a few younger kids on the group, and they actually did really good. A couple years ago in Barcelona, there were some younger kids, and they did horrible. So it was kind of, when I first saw these kids, I was like, oh, but they were actually did really good. They were fine.
Okay, so
because they were very long, hot days.
So maybe know your family. With
Yes.
the bigger, longer adventures, generally, they've got a planned itinerary, and there are some spots where you can do some different things. With a 2-day, are you pretty much on a planned itinerary the whole time, or do you have any options to do things on your own?
So they give you one day you have lunch on your own, and they take you to an area. There's a bunch of restaurants. They kind of say recommendations, and we just chose one, ate there. And then one night you generally have dinner on your own also, and we got a recommendation from them for a steakhouse that was right around the corner.
So many things to see in Rome, lots of history. What stood out? What were some of your favorite things to be able to see as you went through Rome with the Colosseum, the Vatican, and whatnot?
So yeah, we did all the normal stuff: Colosseum, Vatican, Sistine Chapel. I think the Pantheon. When we came around the corner and I saw that building, and so well preserved, it was just like, wow. Built in 129 AD, and you walk in, it looks like it was built 10 years ago. To me, the Colosseum was awesome, but it was just, it's just all stone and stuff, where the Pantheon's still intact inside. It was really cool.
It is amazing. Our very last day, we went to Herculaneum. I have the hardest time saying that, which is kind of a smaller version of Pompeii. And when you can see things that the colors of the tiles are still there, and you realize how long ago it was that was built, and it's still standing, is pretty amazing.
It's really amazing. And like in the Vatican Museum, some picture they said had like 700 colors in it. That was, they painted with all these natural minerals and whatever to get these colors. Like, wow.
So did you get to see, why can't I say it? The Sistine Chapel. Did you guys actually get to go into the Sistine Chapel and see that then?
Yes, we did.
So I know like in the bigger group, the longer, like Italy, sometimes they can go and they get, time just by themselves in there. You guys didn't get to do that on this one, did you? No, we were supposed to go there in the evening, I believe, and have a more exclusive thing. And when we got to the welcome dinner, we had an itinerary ahead of time that said, here's your itinerary, but everything's completely flip-flopped. So What you have printed out is not what's happening. We're going to do all this stuff for the most part, but everything got changed. And it has something to do with the Pope doing something, because they're actually going to have a mass, I think, the day after we were there. They're setting all the chairs up outside. Oh, so yeah, I could see where that, yeah. So they had to flip flop based on that. Yeah, so everything got jumbled around, and it worked out it was all fine, but yeah, it all got jumbled around. So just kind of thinking back on it, like I know one of the big selling points of Adventures by Disney is just like kind of how the small group travel, you get to know people, and sharing those times and experiences together kind of bonds you into this group. On a shorter experience, do you feel like you get the same thing? Yeah, you do, because you're eating dinner with your group every several times throughout the thing, and
when you're walking around, you're talking to people and stuff. So yeah, as you know, some people that we met on the tour had dinner with us a couple nights on the cruise ship, all of us together. So yeah, you meet people and you bond with them. It's kind of fun and learn, talk to them. They're from different parts of the country and just,
Okay, last question. Is there anything else that you want to talk about with your adventure experience that I haven't asked or that we haven't talked about?
What drew us to it originally was never been to Europe before. It just sounded so easy, them taking care of everything, picking up at the airport and dropping off at the ship. It just makes it really simple and, kind of takes all the stress out of it because they have everything planned for you. So I really love it. And I would do more Adventures by Disney, especially if we're going somewhere for 7 to 9 days with long adventures because they have it all taken care of for you.
So I got 2 more questions as I was sitting there thinking about it. Is this something that you would rather do before? Because I know that they set these up so you can either do them before the cruises or after the cruises to try and capture as many people as they can as they come to Europe and the different cities. Would you rather do it before like you did or afterwards?
I enjoy doing it before. I just as personal preference, I don't know. After the cruise was over, I think we're just kind of ready to come home. It was a 9-day cruise, so it's like, yeah, let's just go home after that. Now, if it was a shorter cruise, last time we went to Europe, we did a 7-night cruise, then we went to Paris after, so who knows?
Yeah, no, I was just kind of thinking about it, because like when we got off, it was so nice. We went to a hotel room afterwards and just slept for about 5 hours, and then we had that extra day in Rome before we flew back off the end of this cruise. And in some ways, it would have been nice to just go back and get on the plane and go home. And then some way, so I was just kind of curious as to what your thoughts would be as far as that goes. And I guess the second question is, they used to offer Adventures by Disney on board the ship, so you get your group and then you do some things on the ship. But then each one of the port days, they've got the port days set up for you. Is that something that would intrigue you if they bring that back? I hope that they do.
Yeah, because I looked at the itinerary before, and a lot of it, like, well, this sounds like it'd be pretty good. 3 years ago, they had it like the cruise before ours, but not our cruise, if I remember right. It was something kind of weird. I would be interested in that for sure.
Okay, well, let's turn to the cruise itself. So this is a 9-night cruise. This is the longest one that actually take it back. This is the longest Disney cruise you've been on. We did do a 9-night with Norwegian. Was this the longest one you've done with Disney?
Yeah, we've done 7 nights previous, so yeah, this is our longest.
We won't dwell too much into it, but any thoughts about getting on the ship? I will say this, I was sitting there thinking about it. Because the other ship was in town, the Celebrity, they were using the new portion of the port, which is what we went through last time when we sailed out of Civitavecchia. We unfortunately got stuck with the tent.
We got the board on deck 1. It was really exciting.
Yeah.
And I think for any of these European ports and any Disney cruise, people need to have a little more patience because they're not used to Disney's protocols, or especially with testing now. So you have to have a little more patience because these aren't Port Canaveral. This is not Vancouver. We were in a temporary port and boarded on deck 1. So it's a lot of makeshift type stuff in a lot of these European ports, I think.
And I think Lisa was a little disappointed, and I think a lot of people would be too. When they think about the quintessential, if you go online and watch all the videos and they announce your family and everything like that, we had none of that this time, did we? No,
we boarded in the tender area of deck 1. It was like, okay, now go upstairs. Yeah, so.
Yeah, it was kind of like, here, get your guide, go check in, get the app set up, and then you're on your way. So.
But the cruise after us, we got off on deck 3 that day, so they got the board on deck 3 like normal. So.
Yeah, I didn't even. Well, that's because they were at the new terminal because we came out in the new terminal.
Yeah. So. It was a Monday. Was it a Monday? And no other ships were in port. So
yeah. So your results may vary when you go to Europe, I guess.
Yeah.
Or Miami 100%. Sometimes. I guess it sounds like too. So all right. What are your overall thoughts of the? I'm gonna pick your brain here on this. What are your overall thoughts of the Dream class ships versus the classic ships? Our family has come to really love the magic and the wonder. We like the smaller ships. There's not too much a difference in the rooms that we book. But what are your thoughts between the two classes?
So we're in favor. We like the classic ships better, but I have one caveat, and just a selfish reason. When we book a Royal Suite, we love the deck on the Dream class ships, and so I would love to have had that deck on this cruise. And that's the only difference. Otherwise, we're a fan of the classic ships.
Yeah, you kind of have a long the suite. Just looking at it, it's kind of a long, thin deck where on the Dream class ships is much bigger, facing the front, right?
Correct. Yeah, we just had a long, skinny deck that's kind of, it's not any greater. It's just long and skinny. There's no lounge chairs, where on the Dream class you got lounge chairs and patio furniture, a hot tub. So yeah, there's a lot more stuff on the Dream class deck.
So this time you guys booked the Roy Suite. You were in the Roy Suite when we sailed with you on the Wonder. Any thoughts between those two ships as far as, do you like one better than the other, or what stands out to you?
Well, the Wonder's been upgraded, so the Wonder is a lot nicer area. It's completely been revamped inside. They made the family room area a little bigger. The bedroom now has a king-size bed in it. So the Wonder, just hands down, is way better than the Magic.
And then how about the concierge area itself, like the lounge? I know that they kind of upgraded that a little bit more on the Wonder as well. How does it stand out versus the Magic?
So the Magic is the worst lounge of all 5 ships now. And the Wonder, I haven't seen the Wish Lounge. I've seen pictures of it, but the Wonder Lounge is awesome. It's 3 times the size of the Magic one, has a whole second-story deck areas. It's really nice.
Did they do anything different, sailing to Europe? Was there any, did they add any different touches as far as, being a Greek sailing or just being in Europe as far as what they offered in the lounges?
I think they have some European wines, and I know they have like a non-alcoholic drink for kids that can only get over there, some kind of like sparkling stuff with like glitter in it. That's about the only thing. Okay.
And while I'm thinking about it, I don't mean to be negative, but I saw you post this, and we felt the same way too. It was so disappointing with the merchandise that they had on board on this sailing.
Well, it's completely ridiculous. And the blame, supply chain issues, source it in Europe. As you saw when you were there, Europe has no supply chain issues at all. They have everything in stock everywhere. So they dropped the ball there.
Yeah.
And there's Disney World stuff on the ship. There's like racks and racks of Disney World. It's like, really?
They can't get rid of it there, so they're just putting it everywhere else they can. Hopefully somebody's going to buy it. So I was pretty disappointed about that. I mean, just give me a pin or something.
A pin, a generic T-shirt, something. The Alaska sailings have stuff right now, and we'll be on Alaska in 3 weeks from today, and I'm curious if anything will be left in stock. When my luck, it's all sold out.
Well, I hope that there's something left for you. And hopefully next year on the European sailings, they'll up their game again. I guess give them a pass this year, but that was pretty disappointing. All right, just a couple other questions before we talk about the ports. Was there anything that you were excited about being on the Magic as far as on this 9-day cruise, being able to see, we've kind of already talked about this, the port days are so busy as far as, doing a lot of things on the ship that kind of takes second place to us. But was there anything that you were excited to do as far as the shows or anything?
No, there was nothing I was excited about because I knew it would be long port days, and I know Lightyear came out, but I didn't want the Buena Vista Theater on the classic ships are so small and tight inside. It's like I know just watching a movie in there.
Mm-hmm. And I can't remember. I think we were gone. That was the day we were the last. We were both on the same thing, I think, right, in Kefalonia, where we got back so late. And I think that's when they showed it in the Walt Disney Theater. And we neither one of us. I don't think anybody wanted to jump into the theater 15 minutes after you got back. No. So, all right, let's turn to the ports. We had 6 different ports that we stopped at. Our family ended up booking everything through Disney when the booking window first opened, because at that time there was still, you kind of had to stay in that Disney bubble. So we wanted to make sure that we had at least something booked. And then we didn't really change too much after that because we were pretty happy with everything that we'd booked for the most part. What was your kind of strategy, Chris?
I always tend to book through Disney or whatever cruise line I'm on, especially in Europe. I don't want to miss the ship. And like that night, the ship was supposed to leave at 4:30, and we got back at 6. But we were on a Disney excursion, so the ship was still there. If we had been on a private excursion, the ship would have been long gone. So I know it costs more. It's not for everybody, but I just like the stress-free of not having to worry about that.
Oh, definitely. We were on kind of the same tours but different buses, and it was so. I guess we'll talk about it in a second. But it was so funny. They're like, here comes dessert," but we're already an hour past the boarding time, and they're still serving us dessert. Right? All right. Well, let's kick it off with Dubrovnik. I was, thinking back on it, I was excited to go back to Dubrovnik. Anawake and I had been there before. Croatia is a cool, great country to visit, and I was kind of glad that we had one port outside of Greece and Italy just to experience it. What were your thoughts about Dubrovnik, and what did you guys do there?
Going into it, I kind of almost didn't realize we were going there, because when I originally booked this cruise 2 years ago, I was going to Sicily and somewhere else. I was like, we're going to Croatia. And I didn't really research much of it, and it was just a pleasant surprise. It's a beautiful, clean country with really nice people, and we had a great time. We did a private tour, so just my family, and we just went to highlights around the island, went up to, there was a fort up on top that had great views of the old city. We really liked it. It was a pleasant surprise for us. And we just did, I think we got back to the ship at 2 o'clock that day. We didn't do an all-day type tour, just kind of a 3/4 of a day, just kind of a relaxed pace.
When you book a private tour like that through Disney, what options do you have as far as picking what you want to do with them? Do you tell them ahead of time? How does that work?
So going back when I picked all the excursions, that's another thing with COVID. They weren't sure if they were going to have the private cars and all that kind of stuff because they hadn't had it in other places. I didn't know until about 3 weeks before the trip that everything was confirmed and we had it. Then they send you a letter. They send you a form for each port, kind of like what they have some basic highlights on it, and then other things you might want to do to kind of set your itinerary for your family. I got that like 2 weeks before a trip, and I was busy. I never filled it out. So the first day on this cruise, second day on the 2 day of the cruise, the port excursions met with me, and we kind of went over everything for every port. Just, what we want, the highlights were, what was important to us, and what were secondary things.
Did you feel like they had a good knowledge as far as, because like the next port that we went to was Kefalonia, that's the first time the Magic had actually been there. Did you feel like the port excursion people had like a good knowledge of where to direct you as far as what you should see?
They had better knowledge than I thought they would have. The person helping us was the head person for the port excursion. She was really good, and she had reached out to other people to find information out. And so, yeah, they had a general knowledge, and she seemed to have it under control.
I'm not trying to throw it under the bus or anything like that, just kind of curious. So the next port was Kefalonia. It was the actual, or the island's Kefalonia, but the actual port that we pulled into was Argestelli. I need the word in front of me to be able to say it. What did you guys have planned for Kefalonia? And I guess I know what you had planned because we did the same thing.
So yeah, that one, I think I talked to you ahead of time, like 6 months ago, because I know you guys have been there and kind of get an idea of what was there. And it sounded like there wasn't a whole lot close to the port. So we just did the Disney one called The Best of Kefalonia. And we had a great time on that excursion. I think, besides getting back late, there was a little problem with one of the places we went to where, not really Disney's fault. Maybe they didn't, they should have time schedule better maybe. I don't know, but we enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought the caves I really enjoyed the cave that you could walk through. The big holdup was there was a cave where you did like basically a 5-minute boat ride, and that was just a choke point there, and they had so many tours arriving at once that I think all of us ended up spending like an hour plus in line just to be able to experience it.
I think there was like 10 buses there, and they weren't even all Disney. It was like there was like 5 Disney ones and a bunch of other ones, and yeah, the caves were cool, especially because it was 100 degrees that day. And you start walking down, you feel that cool air coming up. It was cool to be down there in those caves, and they're just so big.
Andrew got some really good pictures. The blues are some of my favorite parts about the Mediterranean, just sailing the water itself, and the colors down in that cave with the water were just amazing. Some of the pictures, and I'll make sure I post those on our Facebook page so that people can take a look at those. And then we ended up having a lunch kind of by the sea there. You got a little bit of a surprise with the beach, but
So yeah, where we, and I think I posted this too. It was probably the best excursion included food I've ever had. And food was really good, but they were a little overwhelmed too with the size of our party. So in between some courses or whatever, I walked 20 feet looking down at the beach. I'm taking some pictures of the beach. I take a picture of the left. I go to the right, and there's a topless woman staring at me like not too happy.
She's like, "Who are you taking pictures of?" It's like, well, I didn't know. Anyway, I was
like, okay, this is a topless beach.
Little added,
and there was only 12 people on the beach, so it wasn't like a completely obvious when we first got there.
No, not at all. Yeah, I thought the food was amazing too. What were your thoughts about just the Greek food in general?
We really enjoyed it. I enjoyed everything.
I like barbecue, I guess. So a lot of the meats are barbecued, whether it's chicken or lamb.
Yeah, we had those chicken kebabs that were really good that day. I was like, I ate so much of the other stuff, I wasn't even hungry by the time that came, but I was like, this is too good not to eat it.
So then we make that mad rush back to the ship, and I thought it was funny because you guys were just right in front of us, and I think your bus did the same thing as ours did, where it pulled right up next to the ship. They kicked us out, and we got on board, and we were sailing within about 5 minutes. Yeah,
I wanted to get a picture of the ship from farther away. I was like, when we left, I'm like, I'll get it when we come back, and we pulled up. We were 10 feet from the ship. I wasn't getting a picture.
Not at all. All right. From there, we go to the island of Crete, and we go to the port of Hania. This is actually the place where Anawake spent time when she was in high school and with a kind of exchange student at a smaller town near Hania. What were you guys' plans for Hania?
So that was the one day we wanted to do a less, an easier excursion. We're not so busy all day. So we went to a beach day, which was like a 5-hour it was through Disney. It was at a resort. They had, chairs with umbrellas. And we just had a great relaxing day. They bring you drinks and food. It was a really nice excursion.
So was the drinks and food included, or were those extra?
That was extra, but it wasn't, as you saw everywhere in Europe, the prices weren't that bad.
No.
We had lunch for 4, several drinks, and it was like 60 euros. So it wasn't bad.
Not at all. And I mean, just some incredible pictures of the place you guys got to stay. You guys kind of had your own cabana, right? Or am I wrong on that?
No, we had like chairs with umbrellas and stuff, and you could have, and I kind of regret not doing it, paid extra and got a cabana, and it was like a gorgeous pool where it had these cabanas and stuff. I was like, and then I wish I would have done it, but we had a great time regardless.
What was the water like? Did you get in? Was it cold or compared to?
It was a little cold at first. It was similar to Castaway.
Yeah.
It's not like California ocean's cold, but it was like, oh, it's a little chilly, but then it was fine.
We did a hike, and then we ended up having some food, and then they took us down to the beach for a little bit, and it felt awesome to get in, but it was definitely cool to start with. But you warmed up to it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
In this one, you guys didn't stop in the little town at all on the way back, did you?
No.
Okay. I guess that's the one thing that we kind of talked about it for like the next port, and we didn't really get a chance to do as much as I think that your daughter Emily wanted to do. But I feel like with all these port excursions, there really wasn't much time to kind of like, if you wanted to do that like shopping or something, you really had to kind of plan that out, didn't you?
Yeah, and because like the best of California we did the day before, we were supposed to have like half an hour, 45 minutes of shopping, but the whole thing got so backed up we didn't get that. And I know on the beach day excursion, there's one that did include shopping. That was like a couple hours longer, I believe.
Okay.
And I just chose the one that just went to the beach. And my daughter was kind of upset a little bit, but she'll survive.
She's got enough stuff.
Yeah.
All right, let's move to Athens. And I feel like I have to apologize. I mean, Anawik and I had been here before, and I'm not sure if we really helped out very much with the Athens day, but you guys are so gracious to include us in the tour that day. I think we all kind of learned a lesson to maybe get to the Acropolis and see that a little bit sooner because the crowds got to be so busy by the time we got there. What were your thoughts about Athens?
Yeah, I mean, Athens was the first big city we've been to on this cruise compared to the small ports. And it's like, going through Athens, it's a big city like San Francisco with the dirtiness and a lot of the other stuff. And got the Acropolis, and it was just a very hot day. And I think we probably waited an hour just to get in, if I remember right. It was kind of backed up there. And then with these private tours, you're your guide, and you kind of tell them what you want to do. This guy just didn't quite get that we didn't need the 15-minute history lesson in the sun. Let's move along and kind of see more stuff. And he was hell-bent on giving us a history lesson of everything. I think he's a history professor that does this in the summer, to be honest with you.
I think so, too. And I mean, he's very proud of his country, and it was like what we were learning was amazing for that. But I think that, to your point, I think that you reiterated several times, this is what we want to do. And for whatever reason, he wasn't really kind of responding to that.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the history part. I appreciate that he's part of his country. I totally understand that. But it's like, maybe instead of 15 minutes, just give us the 7 minutes abbreviated version. We need to just keep walking. I mean, we can't just stand there in the sun. It was just so hot.
Right. We had a pretty decent lunch. What was your thoughts about the lunch that we ended up having?
Yeah, the lunch was, we just picked a random cafe there with all the cafes. You're kind of, it's a touristy type place. You're kind of worried, but mine was delicious. I was really happy with lunch.
And then from there we went on to the history museum, which was, I mean, it's an amazing, what they put together is truly amazing. And I love the fact that they have the windows, so as you're kind of going along and seeing some of the artifacts that they've taken off of the Parthenon itself, you can look at those artifacts and then look up on the hill on the top of the Acropolis, see the Parthenon, and kind of imagine how it all fits together. But once again, I think we were there just a little bit too long.
And it wasn't, the same thing. It's like we could have seen more stuff there instead of going around that one area 3 times. But it's totally cool because they built it to scale. It's like this piece was, here, it's in the museum, and you can look out on the hill and see where it's supposed to go. So it was really cool. But yeah, it's just the guide, again, didn't quite understand what we were looking for.
Yeah, well, the good thing is I think that's like one of those iconic things, like the Eiffel Tower, where I think everybody wants to go and see it. And once you've seen it, then maybe the next time you go back to Athens, if you ever go back to Athens, you don't have to do that again.
Yeah, I think that was, I told my kids, you can bring your kids here someday. I'm good.
Yeah, that sounds negative to say you don't have to do it again. But anyways, once you've done it once, probably don't need to.
No, and 100%. It is so that you just pull up and see this. It's just like, wow, it's really is awesome. But, once you've kind of done it, it's like, yeah.
And I guess I got to throw this out there too, because you were talking about it as we were coming back down. Just some of being able to see to think that this was built, what was it, 500 BC, and it's still standing the way it is, and some of the architectural lines or some of the building lines you were talking about, I think you were pretty amazed to see what they'd done.
Oh yeah, I mean, the craftsmanship they had, it's like, how did they build this? It's just like awe-inspiring.
And they do tell you that a little bit in the, well, they definitely go over that in the museum. So if you don't have time to Google it ahead of time, if you go to the museum, they're going to tell you how they did it all. All right, well, let's move on to Santorini. I think you guys had, in the next two ports, had a wonderful time in these two places. Santorini was the place that we were most excited to go to on this trip. Just someplace we'd never been before. It's kind of iconic Greece. When you see those pictures, and you got a great shot of the Magic with one of the white buildings and the blue dome on it on your tour. What were your thoughts about Santorini? What'd you guys do?
Yeah, we had another private tour, but we only booked a 4-hour tour. We loved it. That was probably my favorite port of the whole trip. It was just kind of a low-key day. It was only 83 degrees that day, which was very nice, a little breeze. But we went to the top of the island, had views of everything, and then we went to, all the iconic places there with the shopping areas with all those white buildings, and just walked around and did very leisurely. My daughter, she's 20, so she enjoys taking Instagram pictures, so she was just having the time of her life. It's like ideal background for all those pictures, right? That's where all these kids want to do this. So she just really enjoyed doing that. And then after our tour was over, we asked our guys, like, we'd just like to have a nice lunch here. And there's several restaurants right by the cable car thing. But she took us a couple hundred yards away to an area where some other restaurants are kind of quieter. And I think less touristy of a restaurant. We had an awesome lunch that overlooked at the Magic there in the port. So it was great. We loved Santorini.
Did I send this to you or not? I'm not sure if I did, but in Rome, if you cruise to Rome, they actually have a port excursion, which is taking Instagram pictures around Rome and teaching you how to do it. Have you seen that? I think Emily.
No, but my daughter. I'm not gonna let my daughter know that it's available.
maybe she should go over there and be one of the guides, I think, too. So.
And I don't know if you saw it, but when we first got there, our guide, my daughter was saying she wanted to get some pictures here and there, and she goes, "Oh, the big thing here now is these women wear these dresses that are like 30 feet long. You got to carry it in these big flowing dresses." And she's saying what a big deal it was. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. We literally saw like 10, 15 women doing this that day.
Wow.
And this was a Thursday, right? It's just they're staying on the roofs of some of those places, and they have professional photographers. I'm like, I guess this is a thing here.
Well, even on our little excursion in Santorini, we took just a generic ship that sailed around for like about 2 hours. There was a woman on board, and she had a photographer with her. And when we stopped in the one of the areas where we swam, she kind of took over the whole front of the ship and was getting like she put on 2 different dresses and was getting all these different shots and pictures and everything like that. So yeah, it was kind of funny, I guess.
Whatever makes you happy. It's not my thing, but okay.
Yeah, maybe we're I shouldn't say this. I'm showing my age as far as that goes.
We're both over 50, just rolling our eyes at all this. It's like, okay, whatever.
Exactly. All right, let's move on to Naples, because you guys get to go to one of our favorite towns that we've been to on your port excursion. Naples, the other big kind of industrial port city. You pull in there, and it's kind of a big dirty city in and of itself. We got to see that when we took the train to Herculaneum. What did you guys have planned? What did you do?
So again, we had a private tour, and we went over to Sorrento, which is the cliffside beach town there, kind of a touristy area. And we had been there before, but we'd only been there for a few hours, I think, so we wanted to spend more time there. We just walked around. There's a very large shopping area and all those kind of skinny alleyways. They kind of sell the same stuff, but the family just enjoyed walking around. They're buying some stuff here, very leisurely walking around. Before we got there, we stopped. We had a view of the town, like took pictures of the town in the background and stuff. There's a lot of like limoncello stands right there on that road that you could stop by there. And then again, we asked our guide, we just want to have a nice lunch. And she took us to it was a touristy area, but it was a nicer restaurant that it's kind of hidden away. And we literally had a table with the cliff below us and just had a nice lunch. It was really, really good food and had a great time. And it was a good way to end the cruise because we were back to the ship, I think, maybe 2:30, 3 o'clock. So not a real long port day again, but just a relaxing day, not rush, go look at this, look at that.
Yeah, it sounds like the perfect way to end it. Kind of a relaxing day, shopping, having a beautiful lunch, looking over the Mediterranean there, and then back in the ship, which unfortunately we didn't have a sea day. We just went right back to Rome after this one.
But it does take you could see from the ship, you could see Sorrento, or you could see Mount Vesuvius from Sorrento, but it takes an hour roughly to get over there. It's a little journey. It could take an hour. They warn you it could take an hour and a half sometimes. So
because there's like a tunnel or something like that you go through, is that right?
Yeah, so you go through 3 tunnels, and one of the tunnels I think is like 5 or 6 miles long, which is I'm not a fan of at all. I'm just like thinking the worst. What if there's an accident in here? How do you get out of here? So yeah, I'm not a fan of the tunnel, but we got there safely.
So we've done this drive now twice when driving between Salzburg and Venice, and you go through this huge tunnel too, and like I don't even know what it is. Maybe like every mile there's like a little door that says exit. And I always wonder like, where does that exit go to? Because I think we're in the middle of a mountain. So like,
yeah, I'm envisioning the same thing. You climb like 300 feet of stairs up a straight ladder and pop out in the forest.
I don't know, but I think you're going to be like out in the middle of nowhere there too. Like wherever you pop out at. So, well, what a great way to end it. Overall, kind of, I know you said that Santorini was probably your favorite. Thinking back on some of the other cruises that you've done, how would you rate this, like the ports in this? Were these ports that you'd like to go back to? Were these ports that you'd recommend? What are your kind of thoughts that way?
Yeah, I think this was probably one of our, definitely in the top 3 or 4 cruises. The Mediterranean before. I enjoyed these ports, I think, more than the Mediterranean ports, just because I think they were smaller, not such industrial ports. We really enjoyed it. I mean, there's nothing else to say. I think it's just, if you can go the Mediterranean or Greece, it's a really good time. It's out of our normal for us Americans. We're used to going to the Caribbean, seeing the same stuff. This, you get such a variety of other things and just different cultures.
Yeah, and you've got 2 kind of iconic cruises with Greece and then now Alaska here coming up in a couple of weeks here. Before we talk about that, I want to talk about Paolo really quick because I know that you guys dine at Paolo quite a bit. What are your thoughts about Paolo, how they've changed the menu overall as far as like a prefix versus doing the a la carte? What are your thoughts about Paolo these days?
I were off the a la carte. I don't mind the change. I know some people are upset because it costs a little more, but still compared to eating at home, it's so much cheaper. So I'm like, okay, but I enjoy the menu. There's a couple different steaks I get on there, so I have no problem with it. I do wish the brunch, the buffet would come back. That's kind of the downfall. I think on our cruise in general, it was back to 2019, except for Paolo brunch is not there, and they served you the soft serve ice cream. Otherwise, I felt it was a completely normal cruise. I don't know how you felt, but
no, I thought the same thing too, and I'm not sure exactly, but I'm maybe glad that they still serve you the soft serve ice cream because maybe it limits.
I am too.
It limits the mess that is kind of there sometimes, and I know maybe it limits my youngest son from having so many of them.
It seems like you're always behind the kid with sticky ice cream hands touching the handle, right? So it eliminates that.
Did you guys get a Cabanas at all? Did you guys get down there?
Nicholas and Emily did one day, I think. I never did myself. We did do, on the Croatia day, we came back and had lunch like at 2 o'clock in Rapunzel's, I believe, and had one of the best lunches we've ever had. It was completely a menu I hadn't seen. There was like cheeseburgers on it, like a skirt steak salad, and some other things. We had a really good lunch that day. I was pleasantly surprised.
Did anybody get the cheeseburgers? Was it the same kind of burgers up on the pool deck, or was it better?
No, it was like a real cheeseburger. It was really good. I had it, and I was like, wow, this is really good. With French fries. It wasn't the pool deck food. It was made in the kitchen food. I
would love to try that. What am I totally drawing a blank on? I was going to ask you, did you get your sandwich on the first day? And it's the muffalata. Did they have it?
So I had that the first day. And then I asked in the lounge, I go, being this is a 9-day cruise, because they always have it in the lounge the first day too, I go, is the lounge menu going to repeat? They can have the sandwiches like on day 8. And she's like, no, I don't think so. I was like, oh, okay. And then 2 days later, we got back from whatever port we were at, and there was a knock on the door, and it was a concierge host, and she had a plate of the sandwiches for me.
I love it. Now, if you could just get them to change it so they have the pumpkin pie on Thanksgiving for your cruise coming up on Thanksgiving, that'd be perfect. Instead of the first day. All right. Well, before we finish up here, anything that we didn't talk about on this cruise, kind of your adventures in Europe, whether it's Disneyland Paris, Adventures by Disney, or this cruise that we didn't talk about that you wanted to mention today, Chris?
I think we covered it all. I think in general, it was a great vacation, long time in the making. Obviously, I've done other trips during COVID and post-COVID here, but this was the big one that got canceled for us 2 years ago that everyone was kind of devastated when it happened. So it was just nice when we finally, were clear to sail and got on the ship and, for a Greek Isles cruise. It was like, this is what we've been waiting for. And it was great having you and your family on board. We had dinner in our room one night. That was fun, celebrating birthdays. Overall, it was just a great time.
I totally agree. And thanks to Nick and Andrew, we were able to win trivia too. So, and you actually you guys won in bingo as well, right?
Yes, Lisa won a bingo session, so that was fun.
So overall, just a great cruise. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for once again just being able to spend time with you on this ship the last couple of sailings that we've been on. Sorry we're going to miss you up in Alaska, but I hope you guys just have a wonderful time up there. Anything stand out about that cruise that you're excited to do?
So yes, so last time we did Alaska, it was we just did a 5-day, and we only had Ketchikan and Dawes Glacier, so now we have 2 more ports. And so we're going to take a helicopter to a glacier. So we're really excited about doing that. 'Cause I know you've done that, and your pictures of what made me want to do that. So we're excited about that.
He came, so we were so low over some of the peaks. He was like looking for mountain goats and stuff as we were heading up to the glacier. It was definitely a memorable experience. So hopefully you guys have just as much fun as we did.
Really looking forward to that. And we're taking my wife's parents. It was a Christmas gift to them a couple years ago. So Grandma and Grandpa are going with us. So.
Awesome. Well, I'll just wish you guys the best on that sailing. And thank you so much for coming on and talking about the Great Isles with me. And I'm once again glad that we were able to experience that cruise with you, and look forward to hopefully sailing with you and the family again sometime soon.
No problem. Thanks for having me on it for, I don't know how many times it's been now, but yeah, and we hope to sail with you guys again. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, I owe you a gold jacket or something for the amount of times you've been on, but well, I guess I still need to work on that. But thanks again, Chris. All the best to you and your family, and we will be talking to you soon. And definitely following you on Twitter. If you don't follow Chris, I'll let you give out your handle on Twitter, but if you don't follow Chris on Twitter with all his adventures, please go and do so, because he posts a lot of fun pictures and all the different things that they're doing.
So yeah, I'm Chris and Concierge on Twitter, and it's Chris_DCL_magic, I believe.
Okay, yeah, and you never know who's gonna follow you, because there was a guy that set up a Starlink thing on the cruise, and he thought I was you, so it was kind of fun to kind of meet him. But you never know who you're gonna be able to meet on Twitter and everything like that. But all right, well, once again, Chris, thanks so much for coming on, and we look forward to talking to you soon.
All right, thank you.
Well, that's going to wrap up our show today. Once again, I really want to thank Chris for coming on and sharing his and his family's experiences once again with us on the DCL podcast. What an amazing trip to go from Disneyland Paris down to Rome for a short Adventures by Disney, and then sailing with us on the beautiful Disney Magic through the Greek Isles on that 9-night sailing. Well, if you've enjoyed the show and you know others who would enjoy it as well, we sure would appreciate it if you pass it along. That helps us get a little bit better known in the cruising, the Disney cruising, and just the podcasting community in general. And as always, we'd like to thank our Patreon supporters who help bring this show to you each and every week ad-free. If you'd like to find out more about our Patreon program, where you can get extra content monthly, you can go over to patreon.com/DCL podcast and find out all the information there. Well, between now and our next show, if you are heading out on a Disney cruise, headed down to Walt Disney World, Disneyland, headed out on Adventures by Disney, or just enjoying your adventures throughout the U.S. or throughout the world, on behalf of myself, Steve, Christy, and Chris, all of us here at the DCL Podcast, we want to wish you to be well, enjoy time with family and friends, and we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast.
The DCL Podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.